And welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Albuquerque. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall, and play is ready to get going here. Conley Wood sitting at 4-0, Valentin Mackl also at 4-0, and Conley, to the surprise of very few, has brought a brew along with him.
Well, he has been sort of heralding this deck all week.
Okay.
There you get a look at. He's communing with the gods.
Valentin said it's so sweet. Yeah, doesn't hit any lands, but he does hit. Well, you actually get a really good look at what it is that his deck can do. Now, he's going to grab an enchantment off of Commune with the Gods. In this case, it's Whip of Erebos. His opponent is on island, no 1-drop, but for sure a 2-drop here.
Right, and you know we're so conditioned by blue decks that they're just going to counter things, but that's not something that the mono blue devotion deck can actually do.
It does not do it. It'll bring in gainsays for the mirror and for a couple other matchups, but it's not a counterspell deck at all. Right. Frostburn Weird.
You saw also a Tidebinder Mage in his hand, but he's like, well, my opponent's going to have a bunch of. There's a Night Howler.
Yeah, and it's currently a 2/2, I believe.
Yeah, there's just 2 creatures in the graveyard.
Yeah, Night Howler says it gets plus it gets +X where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. It also has Bestow for 2 black, so he can get a little extra value. But this one's just a 2/2 for now. But if we know Conley, it will not stay a 2/2 for long. All right, attack with Frostburn Weird, no blocks, and he's considering pumping. Nope, just take 1. And he's just going to pass the turn back. Now, that's an interesting one. Conley's got to figure, Thassa could come down here. I believe that Valentin actually has a Dissolve in his hand, so maybe he's taken a little bit of a different route here. Wow, 2 Dissolve. All right, that is not, at least from the list that we've been looking at so far this weekend, that is not standard. But Conley Woods has to decide.
Saw a lot of it at the Pro Tour, but
not at all. Yeah,
we're 6 weeks in. And
sure. Yep, things could have changed for sure. So let's see what Conley wants to do. He's got to figure his opponent has a counterspell, even if it's not normal. Yeah, he's going to pass the turn back here, I believe. And he does, and Valentin just has to basically do nothing with his turn, attack for 1, and just not use up any mana. But I believe we're going to see potentially a Jace here from Valentin.
He's moving his Frostborn Weird around, looking for an angle of attack.
He's kind of rattling the saber, I could attack with this. All right. Jace makes his first appearance here in the feature match area. Not the last one for the weekend, I'm sure.
Up to 5 or down? Yes.
Up to 5 it goes. All right, so now
a 1/2 Night Howler if it
basically,
attacks.
and remember the Frostburn Weird's going to sit there and play defense. So Valentin has taken the line of, well, I'm going to play Jace and I'm going to ride my Jace to victory. And this is going to get interesting here because I see a Drown in Filth in hand for Conley Woods. Now, it doesn't actually do damage yet, or do any. It won't actually kill Frostburn Weird or get rid of it in any way currently, but rest assured, if Night Howler becomes blocked, it will definitely kill that Frostburn Weird because it's going to put at least creatures or lands in. But
Conley's just got to be like, look, if I can get my whip on the table, I'm gonna get it there. But it also now he has lifelink.
It has lifelink, right.
Thanks to the Whip of Erebos.
That's right. So Conley says, sure, I'll gain a life.
I'll gain a life.
And a quick reading here for Shadowborn Demon. This is one key interaction for Conley's deck. He's going to be able to get Shadowborn Demon back on the battlefield with Whip of Erebos, attack with it for 5, also blow up a non-demon creature when it enters the battlefield, and he's going to do that for just 4 mana. So pretty nice value there. All right, so I think that Jace looks like he's going to go on the downward trend here, and he does. So little mini factor fiction here, and it's all spells, so that's nice. But Conley says, no, I really don't want to see Master Wave, so I'll let you have those other 2 over the first Master Waves, especially considering that Valentin has 4 mana available. Yeah, and it's that good. He's going to take the 1-card pile over the 2-card pile to make sure he gets Master Waves in his hand.
And let me tell you something. A card that Drown in Filth really shines against is Master of Waves.
Yes, it absolutely does. Yeah, most spot removal will take out Master Waves outside, of course, red. Now, Valentin, is he going to run it out there? If he does, it'll be a Master of Waves for 5, which is ridiculous.
Right. Well, he's going to run out, I think, a Cloudfin Raptor first.
So make it 6. He also has that Dissolve in hand still.
Oh, but he's gonna sit back and wait on the Dissolve.
He is. This is getting interesting, though, because Conley is going to be keenly aware. I mean, he knows his opponent has Master of Waves, so he's got to have something. But here's Drown in Filth.
Drown in Filth aimed at your Cloudfin Raptor. Can I do this?
So Conley
is going to give it -X, -1/-1 for each land in your graveyard, right?
Right, and it mills you. It mills you for 4.
Yeah. So nope, it gets dissolved.
Not this time, he says. Dissolve hits Drown in Filth. I'm sure Conley was fine with that. He, he had to know that it was coming at that point. Does he have another in his hand?
You remember that one?
Is that
yeah, he does. He has another Drown in Filth and a couple of lands. So if he wants, he can just fire off this Drown in Filth as well.
But he also knows about the Master of Waves, and I think he would
That's
like
right.
to.
And that's a huge one. So he's actually facing quite a few threats here. He's flooded out a little bit. He's got, he's got to deal with Jace at some point. He can't just let Jace sit on the table forever. And he's got to have to deal with the Master of Waves as well.
Right. What he was looking to do is, I think he might whip the Shadowborn Demon back.
Right. And this is going to take care of Jace if he uses it to kill the Cloudfin Raptor. I mean, he certainly would rather get rid of Frostburn Weird and its 2 blue mana symbols, but he's going to have to get that Shadowborn Demon through to Jace, Architect of Thought, you would think. Yeah, kill that guy. All right, so Night Howler attacking Valentin, and the big bad demon is going to attack Jason. This is a really nice way to get around. All right, so he's actually going to give up his Night Howler here. But the Shadowborn Demon being put back onto the battlefield with the whip is a really nice way to get around the downside of the Shadowborn Demon, which is you have to sack creature on your upkeep.
Right. And that's a lot of life for Conley, too.
It is. He's got a big life total here and quite a few creatures in the yard, but he really does need some action here. He's managed to keep the Drown in Filth in hand for the presumably upcoming Master of Waves here. And it looks like Thassa here for Valentin Mackl.
No, I think he's going to Tidebinder Mage into Master of Waves here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a Thassa in his hand as well. So huge board presence now for Valentin.
Yeah. Five elemental tokens.
Judge which ones can I use? Backup map.
Looks like he has some assortment of
Pikachu? It's not.
Let me check with coverage.
off-brand tokens that he will not be using.
Coverage. Do you have any preference on
they're
what he uses as tokens versus Pokemon or anime girls or
He's asking Rashad.
just blank sleeves and such?
It's a strange cover.
Oh.
I imagine we'll see a judge swoop in at some point and replace them with some sort of token.
You got to kind of feel for Conley here, who is like, yeah, okay, you can decide what tokens, but they're not going to be there for very long. Conley is going to kill that Master of Waves as soon as humanly possible. All right, and there are a bunch of elementals. Ooh, there's a Nemesis of Mortals. So that'll help control the board. And he'll be happy to see that the Tidebinder Mage is on the battlefield already. Drown in Filth, no land, no land, no land, no land! He doesn't have any in his yard. It would have counted all of them in his yard, including those 4, and he bricked.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, sorry I didn't mention that.
After going through a Commune with the Gods and a Drown in Filth there, plus whatever else, nothing. Pretty unlucky there for Conley Woods, I have to say.
Conley's deck does not play a ton of lands.
How many does it run?
He plays about 18. It looks like he plays 18 lands.
Oh.
19 lands? No, 19 lands. But still, not a ton of mana.
That's not very much at all. So I guess it's a little more likely than
and
now that
when
we
you
know
see
that.
He flooded out.
Yes. Yeah, we've seen a few of the interactions from Conley's deck, but I'm going to guess here that this is not a typical game for him.
Sure.
Can't quite see how many creatures are in the graveyard, but he does have a Jared.
Right, there's two. In fact, he has 2 Jareds in his yard.
Yeah, he can get those back. He can sacrifice a swamp and a forest to return Jared from his graveyard to his hand. And Jared, of course, also gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. So this is sort of like a Lurgoyf-inspired standard deck with the Night Howlers in this guy.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, so and that's what he's done. He's brought him back from the graveyard and then played him and passed the turn. So it's hard to see Conley's graveyard, but we got to figure Jared's what, a 5/5, a 6/6, something along those lines?
Can we get a size on Gerard?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6.
He's a 6/6.
6/6.
With lifelink, I'll remind you as well, thanks to the whip.
I mean, yeah.
So
Can't change much.
pretty nice. I mean, even though he's facing down a ton of power from his opponent,
I haven't played a land.
a 6/6 with lifelink makes racing nearly impossible.
Just want to be sure.
But I think we've basically seen the extent of the removal in Conley's deck in terms of it's Drown and Filth.
Is that right? So he really needed to hit a land to make sure that the Master Waves was gone. The problem that Conley's going to face upcoming here is Thassa. I mean, that's Thassa becoming unblockable, and as a 5/5 is going to be a big issue. And right now, if he plays Thassa, she's going to be live. So So Conley's got to get rid of a Frostburn Weird or something. And this is where he can fall way behind, because even though he has a huge Jared that can help keep his life total nicely intact, it's really the Master of Waves tokens that are doing a lot of work, because Conley can attack, but he can really never get through, and Valentin can just trade off a bunch of tokens for his Jared. So Conley's going to have to find some way to get rid of Masters. Remember, he's also got the Shadowborn Demons running around in the deck too, so he has other ways, but...
No. How big is it? 6/6.
So he could potentially Grizzly Salvage into a land.
Yeah.
Put a Shadowborn, and maybe
Into
put
a demon.
Then put a demon in his yard. And
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that his deck can get out of this.
But meanwhile,
I mean, he's running 12 copies of Put Stuff Into My Graveyard.
Yeah.
12! Like, all of his 2s. It's insane. And one of them for him, of course, doubling up.
This looks like a big...
wow.
Everybody but the Master of Waves is attacking.
Wow, this is an interesting attack.
Block the Frostburn Weird.
So he's going to block the Frostburn Weird. He's going to gain 6. He's going to take 2, 4, 6, 8.
So you gain 6?
So that gets three of those.
So he goes down to 18, but he gets to just eat a Frostburn Weird here.
Yeah.
So go to 17.
It's actually 17. Yeah,
it's an
one
extra
extra
point
from the Mutavault.
which is an elemental.
Right. And Conley's still, again, though, that Tidebinder Mage is quite good versus him. And he's got to be happy that he gets to keep his creatures. That's the Owl.
Is that
Judge is familiar. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so Conley has a Nemesis of Mortals, an uncommon from Theros.
Sure.
Very strong limited card, and Conley has found a way to really abuse it. I mean, the lifelink from that whip is going to be huge. I mean, remember, the Nemesis of Mortals also has Monstrosity. It becomes a 10/10 when you pay its Monstrosity. There's 4 creatures in the graveyard right now for Conley, and that means that the Monstrosity costs 4 less as well as casting it. So it costs green to cast a 5/5 for Conley right now, which is already kind of insane, and it has lifelink, by the way. And then on top of that...
Was that green 1?
So it costs 8 normally.
Okay, so green.
Yeah,
So
or excuse me, it costs 9 normally. It's 7 GG, so it takes 4 off of that. So still, it won't be able to do it quite this turn for... Oh, he will. No, not quite this turn, but still, he also has a whip activation this turn if he wants it.
4 creatures in your graveyard, so, right?
Right, now remember what the other ability on Jared is.
Mm-hmm.
So Jared, he can sacrifice another creature.
Yeah.
And then,
and this is what
essentially throw it.
Yes. It's huge. So you pay 1 green/black,
Bring that back.
and you can sacrifice another creature, and each opponent loses life equal to the sacrifice creature's power. If you've got a 10/10, That's 2 turns. Like, even if his opponent's at 18, he can just kill him.
Yeah.
So, and remember, the whip at the same time is keeping it alive. Now, Conley sacrifices one of his Nemesis of Mortals just to, I guess, grow Jared and also gain a bunch of life. Because if you look at Conley's deck, it's really nicely set up to get up to the requisite mana to activate whip and then sacrifice a creature and to Jared and kill his opponent. So this is sweet. This deck is sweet.
Yeah.
And Valentin, he's reading a bunch of the cards, but that's just because most of these I haven't seen play much in Standard.
And again, a Night Howler.
Yeah, 4 of them in the deck. This deck is cool.
All right, we're adding it up. He's like,
oh no. Yeah, so you can see the reaction that VDMI there. It's a Biden of Thassa from Valentin, and that's going to allow him to, like, if he wants to refill his now empty hand. He also can just sort of poke away. None of the creatures on Conley's side have reach right now, so you can get in there with a judge, with a couple of unblockable creatures here, maybe just one. Maybe attack with Thassa or something. He can
fly.
He can make Thassa unblockable, fly in with the Judge's Familiar, something along those lines. We saw that Valentin was pretty aggressive in the last turn, just shipping his whole squad, but maybe he's going to want to back up a little bit because now Conley stands to gain like 12 life or something on the blocks. It's hard to imagine that he has a profitable attack going forward that's where blocks are involved. Oh, I see. Wait.
He just made the Master of Waves unblockable?
Yeah, he must want to leave Thassa back to block.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's still going to get his 2 cards out of the deal, though,
right.
And he's going to play an island as well. I mean, even though the board looks pretty well in hand on Valentin's side, I mean, Conley's actually, he's threatening lethal in a turn or 2 here, depending on his draws. So the cool part about Conley's deck, though, is that he doesn't mess around with any attacking, block. He can just combo off, basically.
Right, we were talking about the lack of combo decks in Standard. This is sort of a combo deck.
This has a lot of mini combos, right?
Yeah.
It's still playing creatures, it's still attacking and blocking and interacting, but yeah, he can get to the point of the game where he doesn't care what your board state is anymore.
He would love to be able to get to 7 mana where you could be whipping and flinging.
Yes.
With Jared each turn.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a quick clock. Conley has 1 card in his hand, freshly drawn, and he's deciding what he wants to do.
He can get that. He can easily make that a 10-10 this turn and go to 29 here.
Yep. And if Valentin decides just to block with Thassa, then he'll be pretty bummed at the result as Conley just gets to gain 10 life here. All right, he's doing the math, and he's made sure that Conley has the ability to pay monstrosity, which he does.
Make a rat. Check for 4. 17. Yep.
So he's going to put Thassa and 3 of the elemental tokens in front now, which equals 11 power, enough to kill even a monstrositied Nemesis of Mortals.
1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 5.
And Conley says, sure, that happens. I'll take out 3 of your elementals, and
Right.
I'll lose my Nemesis, because he doesn't mind if they're in the graveyard. It's a fine place for them to be. And it's the other Nemesis Immortals here for Conley.
Go.
And he says, go. So Conley looking to be in a similar position to last time. He didn't use his whip that turn at all. He's still 1 mana short from being able to activate the whip and sacrifice a creature to Gerard. So, ooh, geez, what is this? Cyclonic
Oh, no.
Rift. Wow, Cyclonic Rift with Overload. And Conley immediately goes to counting how much damage he's taken. Looks like Conley's at 24. How much damage? That's 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 damage, but more importantly, it's 7 draw steps here for Valentin. So it does look like Conley, though, should live through this.
Throw this guy at you for 5.
All right, throw this guy at you for 5. You lose 5 life. And Conley's got to pick up Gerard and the whip. The Cyclonic Rift bouncing non-land permanents. And Valentin's sort of carefully setting it up, but I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't you think he's just going to ship the squad here?
Yeah.
How could you resist drawing that many cards? He's thinking about it, though. Yeah, thought about it for a little while and then came to the same conclusion.
I was like,
8, 9.
I could probably win with attack.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 6. Ugh. He's got 7 cards in his hand now. That's pretty nice. You got to figure that even though Conley's put himself in a reasonable spot, that's going to be a huge blow to his game plan here. As now all of a sudden cards like Thassa and a couple of attackers that have been made unblockable become lethal.
Right. He can just win in 2 turns on Thassa activation. Can get close to it next turn. Yeah.
And
that's
gonna
enough
do
for
it.
Conley.
Yep, Valentin Mackl takes down the first game. That Biden, you and I are both just like, whoa, and it really did take over. Conley had some nice momentum early, stabilized in the mid part of the game, but fell behind late thanks to Cyclonic Rift and Biden of Thassa. So Valentin Mackl up a game over Conley Woods and his new deck, graveyard-based green-black deck.
Yeah. And so now he goes to his sideboard, and who knows what could happen now? Anything. We see a little more control stuff in Valentin's hand, including, rapid hybridization, which is, a nice little card for him to sort of disrupt Conley's plans with.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these decks actually running at 1 or 2 of those in the main deck.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been getting some decent play. And
what we've seen people do, you can do with, if you have an active, like a devoted Thassa, is you can actually target your own Thassa with rapid hybridization. It's indestructible. It won't get destroyed, but you still get a token.
Yeah, which is really clever.
Yeah, it's just really kind of cool.
And it also just is removal at instant speed for very cheap that kills basically everything.
Yeah.
Like on the other side of the table.
For someone who just won a match, Valentin does not look particularly happy.
Oh, I think he's fine. I mean, he's still coming down from the sugar rush from that gallon of pop that he had sitting on the table earlier. So. I'm tempted to talk about the matchup, but I won't pretend to know all the ins and outs of Conley's new deck.
How different is that game if Conley hits 1 land on the Drown in Filth?
Right, because then he can start really putting up huge threats.
Because that Master Waves goes away, and that's really,
that was key.
That did the bulk of the damage.
It did.
In the game.
Make sure you guys tune in for Grand Prix Vienna. This is next weekend.
More standard action.
More standard. Our European coverage team is going to be bringing you all the action November 30th through December 1st. I'm excited for that. I will be not on the road, so I'll be watching it.
You'll be sleeping off your turkey hangover.
Oh, for sure.
Big plans for Thanksgiving?
No.
No.
Just family stuff.
Yeah, same. It's kind of like considering going to Toronto to play in the Grand Prix.
I actually considered it too.
Yeah, and then I was like, I forgot my wife will kill me.
Yeah. I just assumed I was doing coverage there.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess
I
I'm
also
not.
assumed you were doing coverage there.
Yeah, but wouldn't mind getting a little. But it's pretty far from Seattle too. It's not just a little jaunt.
Yeah.
So probably better to stay home for a weekend.
Yeah.
Like this as well.
Yeah, thought about wanting to live out there, but
I won't lie though. If there was a PTQ at
if it
home,
was
I'd
like
probably be
gambling,
playing.
it's all cost so much mana that like.
Let's just be real here. All right. Hopefully we can
Yeah, I
get a chance to see
don't know
even
how to
more
play
of Conley's deck. I'm fascinated by it. Let's listen to the players here.
run it to turn 2. I can dissolve the next turn like without having you knowing that I have it.
Yeah, I kept a pretty bad hand. I think I didn't have any one drops, which I'm not used to.
Conley said,
The deck or like you and your team. Or
let him talk.
It's cool. Looks fun.
Valentin's a fan of Conley's new deck.
I do like that.
Well, he was as soon as
has
Conley
my-
cast Communion with the Gods, he was like, "Oh, that's very cool."
Yeah, he did. He said, "Oh, cool." As he picked it up to read it.
It's not worth anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of readers in there.
So you have bought a lot of chariots.
A lot of what?
The
Oh, Jared.
no, you don't think you
I don't ever
Yeah,
do
we
that.
didn't see
People like
we didn't see Conley do it. I mean, he's got
buy cards that I play.
It's not
14
speculation
mana
if you do it
creatures.
on your own
Yeah, and he said that, what he said to Valentin when they were talking about the match, he said, I kept kind of a bad hand. I had no one drop, and I have a lot of them. So,
Yourself.
Yeah, I mean, what's also very interesting about Conley's deck is it's one of the few decks in Standard that can really abuse all the modes
I bought
of a
lot
Deathrite
Smash,
Shaman.
that's true. And, because we've seen Deathrite Shaman have profound impact on older formats, Legacy, Modern. I even was watching some Vintage earlier that had it in there. But the reason why we
Perhaps
haven't
just
seen it in
stubbornly.
maybe, but the reason why we haven't seen it in Standard is because of the fact that it doesn't always, and in fact kind of rarely actually makes mana.
Right.
The other abilities are very relevant, and when those are the key thing, you do see it in Standard, but it's not as ubiquitous as it is
Based
in
on
other
the first
formats.
game that we've seen this deck can play, it'll rarely make mana here
Yeah,
either.
no kidding. Conley bricked pretty good in game 1 for those of you just tuning in here from Albuquerque. He managed to not put any lands in his graveyard after putting like 12 cards in there or something, but Valentin Mackl was able to keep his Master of Waves and take down
Yeah.
the first game versus Conley Woods.
And draw about a full grip of
And I top
you know,
four the GP.
new cards. I drew 6 or 7 cards that turn. Off of by Nathasa.
Valentin says this is his first
You're on camera
time
right
in the
now.
future match
No.
here, even though he's top 4 to GP.
No, I
Ooh.
like SCG.
Said he's really excited. I like that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's the right attitude to have.
Very much
Judge
better.
game.
Yeah, and they go on.
Plus, he gets to play against a big ringer like Conley Woods, get a chance to
It's all about me.
show your stuff against the best. You got to love that. All right, a mulligan here for Valentin. Let's see if he's got a keeper on 6. 2 lands to kick things off. A Jace, a Thassa, another land. Last card is another land. He's going to keep it, though. All right, here's a Deathrite Shaman, I believe, for Conley
Yeah,
Woods.
Conley shocks
there
himself.
it is. Yep. Wow, he's also got Sylvan Carry added as well, so he has tons
And
of ways to
Voyaging
make
Satyr.
mana. Yeah, so infinite mana, plus he has a Shadowborn Demon too. He does not, I don't think he's got one of his mill cards, his self-mill cards, even though he's playing the full amount. Oh, he does. Is it a Drown in Filth?
It's
couldn't
either that
quite
or a
see.
Grizzly Salvage.
Oh, that's a Drown in Filth there.
Yeah.
Okay, so he does. And Frostborn Weird for Valentin Mackl. A fine draw for him there.
What's your
Another Deathrite Shaman for Conley. He's also got a land, a Voyaging
You
Satyr.
should know. They're all good?
Valentin's fishing for some information, I think, from Conley. What's the best card in your deck? He's like, I don't know.
Conley apparently has a series of videos coming up in the next week about this deck.
Okay.
There are the
And he
money.
said he went like 12-0 in video matches or something like that with it.
I've never done anything other than make mana.
Be sure to tune in for those. Deck looks really cool.
Here comes the God of the Sea.
Yep, Thassa, God of the Sea. Now, for now, it's going to have an impact on the game in the sense that it's
Card
going to let him
selection.
scry every turn, but it's not attacking quite yet. There's a Shadowborn Demon.
And a Commune with the Gods.
And a Commune with the Gods and a Drown in Filth. So Conley's hand is pretty stacked up here. He also has access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if he hits a land, he could hit even more mana. But for now, kick things off with a Shadowborn Demon, which is really going to make short work of Valentin potentially, as Conley gets in there for 2 damage past the non-active Thassa.
He will happily sacrifice some non-demons.
Yeah. Yeah, he can start. This is where I love decks like this that play cheap mana creatures but also have relevant uses for them later in the game. Although ever since Desecration Demon has become popular, mana creatures have uses later in the game.
So Valentin is scrying.
And he's going to keep it. It was a Master of Waves, and he's going to play Jace here. Sure. He's going to plus Jace and pass a turn back. All right. Conley Woods, 2 cards in hand. One of them's a Commune with the Gods. The other one's a Drown in Filth. And he's got a trigger on the stack from Shadowborn Demon here. And he's actually considering doing something in between, using up one of his mana to fire off something here.
So Valentin Mackl, by the way,
He's
top
not going
4
to,
of Grand Prix Valencia.
Ah, yes.
You know, not in the recent past.
Yeah.
This season.
That was not that long ago, yeah.
Which is probably part of why you're seeing him make such a long trek to the United States for a Grand Prix.
Pro point
He's looking
chase,
for pro points, looking to lock up a couple of, maybe chain together a couple of qualifications.
Sure. All right, so Conley drew a Night Howler, and I think he's going to bestow here. Night Howler on a Deathrite Shaman. Voyaging Satyr is in the graveyard, which is going to pump it up by 1, so that's going to be plenty enough to kill Jace with the with both creatures.
I would say seems fair, but that's not it. That's not true at all. I like to scry.
All right, scry for Valentin. Thinking. So Conley Woods off to a quick start thanks to a bunch of mana creatures. Still has his self-mill spells in hand and plenty to feed his demon. So things looking quite nice here for Conley. There's a potential blocker with a Cloudfin Raptor.
And here comes a Master of Waves.
Okay. So 3.
Which we know is very, very likely to drown in its own filth here.
He gets a couple of triggers on a Cloudfin Raptor. I mean, is it likely? It is.
Yeah, I mean, it seems reasonably.
And remember, Conley can also fire off that Commune to see if he hits a land first, too, if he wants to change his line at all. All right, Deathrite Shaman down. And there's another Drown in Filth, so he found him. He was looking last night on Twitter asking people if they had him. But first Commune. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 lands, so that's not going to be a problem. And he gets to grab a Jared. He can grab a creature and enchantment. And here's a Drown in Filth, your Master of Waves.
No lands.
He says no lands, but there's already 3 in there, so there's 4. He gets more creatures, plus he gets a creature, 2 lands, and a Grizzly Salvage in his yard. And he's going to attack with these 2. So how big is Night Howler now?
2, 3, 4, 5 on here. So he's a 6, 7.
So it's giving +5/+5 right now. So he's a 6, 7. +5 is 11. It's going to drop him Valentin down to 6.
Right,
and with Gerard in hand,
Good.
he's threatening to win the game in a turn or 2 here. So Scry. This is a little more what Conley wrote up when he put this thing together, as he has multiple ways to win the game over the short or long term. Remember, the Night Howler is bestowed on the Deathrite Shaman.
Right.
So even if the Deathrite Shaman went away,
he
he can
sacrifice the Deathrite Shaman, actually, and then just get a slightly bigger Night Howler.
This deck is sweet, and that's going to do it. Conley Woods ties it up 1-1. Valentin Mackl can't find the right answers. In fact, he has none that game.
Right.
And he gets run over by Conley Woods, and you see a big smile there from Conley. As anytime Conley's in the feature match with some brew he's come up with, you can see this phenomenon of people milling around seeing what Conley's up to.
He is most certainly the people's champion in Magic today.
Yeah. He's the Brewers champ, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So we can see that our other match has
they have departed.
concluded, yeah.
I'm just going to say Owen Turtenwald won. because he wins most of his matches. I'm just playing the numbers here. I have no idea if it's true or not.
So it was own turn while playing, interestingly, it looks like Mono Black Devotion. Playing against a interesting red, white, black, a Dega colored deck, if you will.
Okay. Some type of control.
Boros Reckoner, Desecration Demon,
Whoa.
Blood Baron, Stormbreath Dragon, Pyromancer, and Elspeth.
He just played all the best stuff from those colors.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Reading Bones. So it's just like a red. It's kind of like a little bit like the Demons and Dragons deck, but with some white.
All right, so we're going to get a game 3 here. Conley Woods versus Valentin Mackl. Conley kind of put a thumping on him that game, really.
Yeah.
Valentin did get to see a little bit more about how Conley's deck might work. Might clue him in as how to play a little differently, though. I have to say the mono blue deck's pretty one-dimensional. It doesn't interact with the opponent a ton. It's a lot more focused on doing what it's trying to do than stopping what you're trying to do. Even though we did see a couple of dissolves from Valentin in his main deck.
He can bring in a negate out of his sideboard. You know. We'll see.
You just got to wonder if, putting more stuff in Conley's graveyard is really the...
Even if you're
really
countering it?
Yeah, it's going there anyway.
Dude, you're just making my Night Howler stronger.
Yeah, stop
Less
it.
than 10 minutes. I can't
With the
take
extensions?
You only have a minute extension.
Even for the stop for the token thing? Where you were figuring out what tokens? No? Okay,
That took like 20 seconds.
Conley chatting up the table judge.
He's asking him about this time extension, just making sure how much time. They've got a little over 10 minutes left in the actual round. They have a couple of minutes of extensions as well.
Reason that is not due to the player's own.
Yeah, a lot of times the players in the feature match area will operate on a slightly different schedule because
Yes.
to accommodate, the amount of time it takes us to sort of hustle them over, gather up their stuff,
Like all your shuffling.
get some friends to help you lift your giant soda,
It was supposed to be free stuff, right? At the beginning?
Well, it was after the round had started.
Valentin is leading off.
Game stuff, which
All right, so Conley's still trying to get it sorted just to make sure that he's had enough time.
But at any rate, we'll go with their clock.
Valentin says no thanks.
About 15 minutes.
All right, so
But
a
so
mulligan
does
from
Conley.
both players
Yeah.
here. Yeah, they've got about 15 minutes, so
Okay.
it should be okay.
Negate the
13 minutes, Rashad says? Okay, 13 minutes. So they should be okay, but it is a consideration, and, you see this a lot from the players that are tournament veterans. They'll ask the judge about the clock, but in reality, they're dropping a not so subtle hint to their opponent, like, we need to make sure we play fast. Some of them are also just very direct and will just say, look, we're not going to finish this round, and we need to make sure that we play quickly in order to do that. Valentin's been playing at a perfectly reasonable pace, but it's in both players' interest to actually finish the game, finish this last game.
I think Conley probably makes some of his opponents take a little longer to play a game than they would because they have to read some
have
of
to
his
read
cards.
half of his deck, yeah. Commune with the Gods, what does that do? Drown in Filth, what's this nonsense? And even Grizzly Salvage, I haven't seen that in a long time, so.
Yeah, no, not since the Junk Reanimator days.
That's right.
All those 1 year ago.
Okay, so both players are going to be going to 6 here. Valentin's going to be on the play. How important do you think that is?
I mean, it seems.
Come on, you're not an
tremendous for him.
expert on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's well.
You haven't ground 100 games of
a
Conley
deck-
Wood's brand new deck versus
Yeah,
the blue deck.
I think anytime you can get a fast start against the Conley Woods deck, because if he gets any time to settle into what he wants to do.
It does feel like he's got some pretty serious inevitability lined up in multiple forms, too.
Yeah.
All right. Conley has kept. Valentin Mackl has mulligan. So
He's going down to 5.
he's going down to 5 on the play.
Not a super looking hand, it seems like, on Conley's side.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. Triple Forest opener is a little sketchy. He does have a Gerard, a Shadowborn Demon, and a Deathrite Shaman, I believe, though.
Okay.
So
Definitely some balls involved.
Can work with it.
he's going to have to find something. I mean, we were talking before
No lands?
about the about Deathrite Shaman and how in Standard it plays a different role than it does in the older formats. And this is what what we were mentioning is that he's not really going to be able to make mana reliably off of it in the early stages of the game. So he's going to have to find a black mana source at least to get things moving, or one of his Commune with the Gods, something like that, to get some lands into the graveyard to get that Deathrite Shaman active. So he's got a lot of ways to do that, though. Conley does.
I mean, his deck is built with a pretty clear focus.
It is, but he needs to find black mana in some sort pretty early. Gerard is going to sit in his hand for a long time if he can't find two black mana sources. Same thing with Shadowborn Demon. So sketchy keep here from Conley, but he feels like, on the draw, doesn't want to go down to 5, even though his opponent did. And here's the 5th one. Is this a keep from Valentin Mackl?
Almost anything is, right?
I mean, anything that can cast some stuff, and he does have an early play. Conley almost reveals a card, but he doesn't, and it's a Deathrite Shaman. Conley drew, maybe it was a Forest, I'm not sure. 2 Judges Familiars here for Valentin Mackl, so he's going to start the beatdown plan. It always starts small here, and Conley draws a Commune with the Gods, so he does have a chance to get some lands into his yard and get that Deathrite Shaman active.
But isn't that Judges Familiar going to just not let him?
It could, yeah. I mean, I think either way, he's going to want to either get rid of a Judge's Familiar or have himself resolve that. So, he drew another Deathrite Shaman, so he actually has another play he can make this turn instead of that. So that's what he's tanking about here. He's going to attack first. So it does look like he's just going to play the other Deathrite then, huh? Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah.
I like my hybrid guy.
I guess they're racing.
The Commune's fairly important for him. I guess he really does want it to resolve.
Yeah, that's true.
Them are terrible creatures.
But you got to think he would
Right now.
he would get rid of both. All right, now the 3rd mana, but no play from Valentin. Conley would saw in game 1 a dissolve out of him, and he's got to wonder if he has it here. Can Conley afford to just do nothing for this turn, though?
No.
He's got to run it
His
out there.
opponent went to 5 also.
Yeah, like if he goes for Commune with the Gods and Valentin wants to trade his entire board presence for it, sure, right? Like that's got to be good for Conley. He taps 1 land, he loses 1 card, and he wipes out 2 devotion, all that stuff. All right, it does resolve, and there is 1 land in that pile. There's also an Elvish Mystic, which he's going to take into his hand. So he has access to 2 colors of mana. This means his Grizzly Salvage is going to be online. Or he can just play one of what looks like 2 Elvish Mystics in hand now after his draw step. And he can play the other one. No, he's going to beat down plan hybrid fight. And pass the turn back. I believe that was a Master of Waves off the top. So that will replenish his board quite nicely. That'll give him 8 more power.
I think we might see a Shadowborn Demon. You can see Valentin. He's like, oh, I might win this on a mulligan to 5.
Yeah, he's 2, 3. There we go. 2, 4, 6, 8. And passes the turn back. And I agree. Shadowborn Demon should be incoming here. Although, does he have double black available?
I don't know how many lands he has.
No, he only has 1 in his yard. So he can make 1 black mana from Deathrite Shaman, but not the second one. And this could get awkward for Conley. He's going to play an Elvish Mystic, play another Elvish Mystic.
Okay.
All right, so he doesn't have Grizzly Salvage. He has Gerard, and he has the Demon. A draw step, I believe that was a Frostburn Weird. The BDM special there from Valentin Mackl. He's going to activate his Mutavault, and he's going to attack with all of his 2 power guys and his flyers, leaving back just Master of Waves. So Valentin knows that Conley is stuck on lands, and it's not going to get any better for him. Imagine all the cards in double black that Conley can have if you're sitting in Valentin's seat that just blow him out here, right? I mean, even something like a Whip would be awful for him. A Shadowborn Demon would be horrible. Gerard isn't even that good. Like, you don't even want to see a Gerard. So he's going to put the pedal to the metal and just try to start blasting through Conley Woods' creatures. He's willing to trade any of these for any of those. Conley's got to keep at least 1 Deathrite Shaman.
He's going to double block the Mutavault.
Which is going to allow him to... Well, that actually won't work.
2 cards.
Yeah, the Mutavault
The Mutavault's a 3/3.
is a 3/3. Yes, you are right.
It won't matter, like in the sense that he'll still have a death right, but it's just not a.
Right, he's
just chumping.
He's not going to kill the Mutavault.
Yeah, and keeping your opponent off balance on mana when they've already mulliganed a bunch is great. And
Yep.
I think Conley just noticed it. So you're going to rearrange his blocks a bit here. He seems concerned with the Mutavault. He can freely trade any of his creatures for Master of Waves tokens, but I think he knows that he's one black mana source away from Shadowborn Demon and making it so he can forget about that thing together.
He puts 2 elves.
Ooh, he puts 2 elves in front,
Oh, it's triple.
and he just and you hear him yell to himself.
Stupid changelings.
You know,
Seen that?
Mutavault's annoying in that way, and he got him a little bit. Now, he did take less damage, but kind of a bummer. And here's that Frostburn weird now for Valentin. So black mana source, no.
Hardcore.
It's a forest. Still doesn't have a way to get it one more land into his graveyard. He needs to find a second. I mean, he's only a 2-color deck.
Right.
How hard could it be? He just has he also has Voyaging Satyrs and Sylvan Caryatids in his deck that can help him get to double black off of just like one swamp or no swamp, but doesn't have them.
Conley's at 7.
Conley's at 7 and has taken a thrashing this game. And if he is forced to chump next turn, which he will be, he's going to be at virtual 5 thanks to the Flyers. He can only block 3 creatures. 1, 2, 3. He's going to take 4. He's going to be at 1 no matter what, and he's going to lose both of his Deathrite Shamans. It's hard to imagine a scenario where Conley gets out of this. Second Mutavault for Valentin. Probably just going to be used to activate the first one.
Yeah.
And are we just going to see an Alpha Strike here? Because if he Alpha Strikes, he's going to be left with 2 lethal flying creatures. Sure, he'll lose his Master of Waves, but damage has been done.
Okay.
This is where Conley says block. No, he's going to pay 1, activate his other Mutavault, attack, 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 and I think you just throw a Master in there too, right? Looks like he's going to hold it back. Okay.
What if he had Cyclonic Rifted and then...
Cyclonic Rifted like just anything?
Yeah, but I guess...
Fuck.
It's lethal, right?
Yeah.
He's kept mana up for his Frostburn Weird, which also produces lethal. So Valentin making a critical attack here, and even if it doesn't kill Conley Woods this turn, you got to figure like he's not going to be able to recover
Conley's going to
much.
gain a little life.
He can gain a little life. He did have a couple of creatures in his yard. Okay, so definitely not lethal. I totally forgot about the life gain there.
I mean, people haven't played Deathrite Shaman in Standard for a while.
That's true.
It's understandable.
And Conley does, in fact, go down to 1, and you got to wonder, Master of Waves sitting back there like, put me in, coach. Let's do this.
He goes up to 3.
And back up to 3. And he draws.
another-
Was it an Abrupt Decay? It was another Gerard, and that's going to do it. Valentin Mackl on a mulligan to 5 on the play is able to defeat Conley Woods, who just couldn't find that second black mana source when he needed
6,
it.
And then he did not want to ship back a